Hello, thanks for tuning in. Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist. So I'm reviewing this call. Came in on the 3rd of April, 2024. And it's Sean calling in. We've got Eve Was Framed and Matt Dillahunty taking the call. Sean called in. He is he grew up a Muslim, and he said that he never really believed in the religion, but to keep the family peace, he decided to go along with it. Eventually, he couldn't keep that up. It caused a lot of conflict between, particularly him and his father, and he said that there was some abuse going on, and eventually he had to leave. He then he got married, and he says that he's got a 17-month-old child, a son, I believe. And he's saying that he's still got some sort of spiritual beliefs, and he has actually had trouble detaching himself from the Islamic community because he says that people treat him like a Muslim even though he isn't one. I'm not too sure why that would be. What is it about him that means people are treating him like a Muslim? I don't know. I mean, I live in a sort of Christian country, the UK, and I don't particularly treat anybody like Christians, or I don't treat people like Muslims, depending on their appearance. For me, anyway. But obviously, I don't know what kind of society he's mixing in. But he says he's treated like a Muslim, but he didn't really say by whom. So what he's saying is that, well, I'll allow him to speak for himself because we're going to move into the conversation, and let's just listen a bit.
Atheism is merely the position of not being convinced that a God exists. It has nothing to do with certainty about a God not existing.
Oh yeah, if I can just say why Matt's talking about that. Yeah, so it surprised me that Sean asked Matt, do you know where your car is at this moment? And Matt said, well, to the best of my knowledge, my truck is in my drive. And what Sean really wanted to elicit from Matt, or at least somebody, he said he asks other people these questions and they're certain that their car is in a particular place. And then he makes them realize that they could be wrong. So yeah, you can't have certainty. You could always be wrong. I'm not too sure why he went down that road, but he then said, how sure are you about atheism? Is there certainty in atheism? And what are your beliefs? And he didn't really seem to know what atheism is. So Matt has just explained it. It just deals with the God claim, the rejection of theist claims. So let's continue.
Or anything like that.
Right. It's not an answer.
Okay.
It's just a response to the God claim.
Okay, got it. Right, absolutely.
So
and
as an
what's the
atheist,
spiritual stuff?
as an atheist, I say I don't know more than I ever did as a religious person.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I kind of believe in this, but I guess where I differed is I decided to kind of go back to the Muslim community somewhat. And I don't believe at all in Islam. I don't believe it in it at all. I believe it's like a cult very much and so forth. But I realized that it was my family, and it was like growing up in that atmosphere and environment of the family that was so damaging to me. But I realized actually there's some decent people in all communities, and even like, you know, and now that I have a son, like, I didn't want it to grow up with, no, I started thinking like, what's the best thing for him and so forth. So I actually went back to the mosque. Now I don't pray and I don't.
What I find bizarre in this is that he's already admitted the problems that his religion caused him. His father became abusive. He was in conflict with his family. He had to leave. He said that it was damaging. And now he's actually going back into that environment.
Don't believe in it, but I take my son there so he can kind of be exposed to something, and hopefully,
Yeah, and he's taking his son there as well. That's really smart.
he can go through that process. I think Matt, you were okay because so I was, I think you were a believer at one point, and then
yes,
I think from you talking to us, you were a believer, and I'm like very much different than most of the YouTube people. Like I never believed, like even as a child, like when I heard my mother describe the Abrahamic faith, I disbelieved.
You're not answering the question.
What was the question?
Why are you taking your kid to religious things that you don't believe in? Why are you
That you
exposing your
yourself
kid
said-
to something
Okay.
that
and you
you don't
said
Actually, I'm sitting here.
that
think
caused
is true?
harm.
Let me answer the question. The reason I decided to do it is, number one, so he could meet some friends in the community, because growing up as a Muslim in America is actually also a ethnic identity and a religious identity that I've never been able to shake. Even though I completely disbelieve, I'm completely, like you said, according to your.
Now, I have done some videos recently on conversion stories where atheists, well, so-called atheists or even Christians have moved over to Islam, and they talked about how, you know, they found the community so overwhelmingly warm and supportive, and the more they took from that community, the more obligated they felt to buy into the religion. And hence we've got these conversion stories. You can't keep taking something out of a religious community without actually giving something back. And when you do have to give something back, ultimately you'll find that it's got to be accepting their worldview, which I think for a lot of people would be too high a price to pay. But it depends. If you're so desperate for that community and the warmth of that community and the support of that community, you might well do it. You might even convince yourself that you really do believe it. And then we've got the slippery slope, because particularly in Islam, what if your son actually becomes radicalized and goes out to fight with ISIS? What then?
Unfortunately, I still fall into the category of Muslim, and I'm treated very much like it. But the
Why?
second reason is so he can go through the process. Oh, well, let me answer the second reason. So he can go through that process of disbelieving. Also, like, I think that's like, so he can make.
You know what?
That's crazy, because, I mean, okay, look, if you indoctrinate a child, then sooner or later when they grow up, they're either going to have to remain in indoctrination or they're going to have to become critical thinkers, and they'll have to deprogram themselves. But if you don't indoctrinate them in the first place, then there's never an issue about going through this process of disbelieving. It's absolutely doesn't make any sense. His plan makes absolutely no sense at all, apart from the community aspect. But that path is paved with, I don't know, broken glass and barbed wire.
Choices, and I don't have to.
No, that's some bullshit. Why would you force your kid to have to learn stuff only to stop believing it later?
No,
why? Why wouldn't you? Why would you stop?
I'm not going to force them.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop and listen.
listening.
No, you're fucking not. You're trying to talk. You ready?
Yes.
Why don't you take your kid to a KKK meeting so he can eventually unlearn that bigotry?
I guess
Yeah, well, okay, good question, Matt. The only thing is, as he said, he feels like he's been treated like a Muslim, and that when he detached from his faith, he lost all the community, and he wants some of that warm community for his son. That's the only problem with Matt's question. But apart from that, it's a pretty good one.
the reason is I don't believe the local mosque is as dangerous as the KKK in Kansas City.
As dangerous?
Wow.
Yes.
Well, cool. So basically,
still
you want to introduce your kid to.
Well, how many young men from Muslim communities are becoming radicalized, going out to fight in Syria, and within a few months being killed? I think that he should seriously question that, whether actually the KKK is probably, although full of hateful bigots, is probably not as dangerous as actually being in that kind of Islamic environment where you could, as a young man, potentially become radicalized.
You know, athlete's foot and jock itch, but not cancer. You want to take him to the polio party, but not the cancer party.
No, sir, I don't. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't understand, because you started this call saying that you experienced, you had a negative experience with, with your Muslim upbringing, and now you're wanting to do that to your child. Like, it would honestly make more sense if you were telling us that you were now taking him to church, to a Christian church or something like that. But I don't understand why the thing that you're admitting caused you harm, you're now going to subject your kid to the exact same thing. And he's trusting you to show him truth, and you're saying that you know this isn't truth, and yet you're still subjecting your child to it. That feels really fucked up.
Can I answer you guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Listen, I respect you guys 100%, but you're actually putting words in my mouth. So I'm actually going to be telling him what I believe, and I don't believe in it. And I'll be explaining to him, I'll be very honest, like what happened in my family and how I got to the process of not believing, because I won't be praying or believing or pushing anything. And I won't be putting him to.
So he's going to be telling his son, look, this religion's all bullshit. I don't believe in it. It damaged me a lot as a child. I had to go through a very painful process with my family. It caused no end of trouble for me. But I want you and me to go along to this club. But by the way, everything they believe in is nonsense. But really, I'm just taking you along because it would be nice to meet some of the community. And in fact, there are some good people in that community. And I'd like you to eventually, once you have assessed the religion, disbelieve it just like I did. It sounds like one big hell of a waste of time. And as Eve has pointed out, in principle, utterly wrong, non-pedagogical and bad parenting.
To the thing my father put, because I won't be doing any of that actually. So, but the main thing is like I just wanted him to have friends, like, and he'll be in a public school, so he'll make American.
So what
friends.
if he ends up? What if he did you see my debate with Daniel Hakikachu?
No, but I definitely would I would support you 100% in the debate. I know him.
What if your son ends up agreeing with Daniel Hakikachu that it's okay to marry and have sex with 4-year-olds and that Sharia law should be implemented so that you and I should be killed for pointing out that the Prophet Muhammad raped a 9-year-old? What if your son, after being introduced in the mosque, which is a relatively harmless mosque in Kansas City, falls down into the pit of absolutely vile Islamic and Islamism beliefs?
Oh, okay.
How are you going to feel then?
Let me answer you. Oh, okay. If that happened, what you described, of course, I'd be horrified. I'd be horrified. I think I'd be absolutely horrified if he did that. But I've never even heard of a person who's that extreme. Like I've met a lot of people in the community. Like I said, I grew up in it, unfortunately. But I've never met anybody who ever went that extreme. I know there are people. Of course there are.
So it's really weird that I've met them and debated them and interacted with them, and they're all over social media and they're attacking us constantly.
Not just that, but okay, so just because he's never met them, it doesn't mean to say that they're not there. And we also know that there are groups and factions in mosques in Britain and in America who are specifically trying to radicalize, in particular, young men who can be made to feel very emotional about all the wrongs that the West has done to the Islamic world. And they're the easiest group to actually radicalize. So I don't know. I think he's being very naive.
And yet you've never heard of him, and you don't see this as a risk.
No,
I think that you are clueless about the actual risks in the world, and that you are trying to rationalize an incredibly dangerous and unjustified thing so that you don't feel like you're doing something bad when you in fact are.
I think Islam is a cult. It's very mentally ill, the scriptures. And
then why are you taking your child to the cult meetings?
Thank you. Yep.
Why are you taking your child to the cult meetings?
I would never take my child to a cult meeting, ever.
Let me answer. And I'm glad you guys had me on. And if we have the time, like I would love to answer your questions.
This is a diversion. He doesn't want to. He's been put on the spot now. He probably regrets even making this call. If he'd sat down and critically thought about this whole thing, first, he would never be taking his son along to something as crazy as Islamic meetings, mosques, etc., and introducing him to that crowd. And if he'd really thought about this, he wouldn't be doing that. But if he'd thought further, he would have realized it was not a good idea to phone Matt and look for some kind of validation on this crazy plan.
So, okay. I'm going to call another time when there's time.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason is...
I'm not sure I want to talk to you another time.
Okay, yeah. So the question has just been asked, why are you going to take your son into this environment that you've acknowledged is dangerous beliefs, or at least it's caused a lot of danger and harm in your life? Why are you taking him into this environment? Let's hear what he's got to say.
I'm going to take him there, and I'm going to take him to other religious places so he can expose him to all the places. I'll take him to a church and a synagogue, and I want him to have exposure to all religions and then make his own choices.
That's very different than what you've been saying. So you've been...
Yeah, exactly. And bullshit. I don't believe it. Because he was very specific about why in particular he's taking him into mosques. He's taking him along into an Islamic community, specifically because, as he said, he is still treated like a Muslim, although he's come out of the Muslim faith. And there are good people in the community, and he wants his son to benefit from some of that community spirit. Now he's suddenly changed tack, and he's saying that he's going to expose him to Judaism, Christianity, you know, other religions, etc., so that he can sample them all and one by one disbelieve in the whole lot of them. I think that he's changed his position because he's had quite a severe grilling. That's why.
And saying that you want him to have community, and you think the solution to that is to take him to the mosque. Not to go like have a show and tell of a bunch of different...
Yeah, okay, so Eve also saw through his bullshit.
Religions. That's a completely different scenario.
Also, earlier, when Eve specifically asked you why you wouldn't take him to Christian church, why didn't you say then, oh, that's exactly what I intend to do? Because now...
Yeah, what a liar. Yeah, he's been completely caught out. I don't know how he's going to get out of this.
Sounds like you are spinning a different narrative.
I didn't have a chance at the moment to answer.
Oh, fucking bullshit. Don't do this. I didn't have a chance. You had it. I just asked you. I told you when the opportunity was to say this.
Okay.
It sounds like a lie. It sounds like spin.
I'm
going to let you go. I'm going to let you go, Sean. He's got another question. So hold on.
Yeah, just one last question, just so we can clarify.
Yes.
Are you choosing a Muslim community for your child, like you're saying, and that's going to be the primary religious influence that you allow in their life? Yes or no? Is that what you're doing?
No. I want to.
That's what you said earlier. That's what you
exactly. That's what he said earlier. If you rewind the tape, you'll find out that's exactly what his motivation was for taking his child into that environment. Now he's saying it's not. Now he's saying it's because he wants his son to try all the different religions so he can make his own choice and reject them all as he pleases. Yep. It's a lie. As Matt said, it's just spin.
Said earlier, Sean. You shut up, Sean. No, you're muted. Earlier, if you go back and listen to this call, you were talking about how important it was that being Muslim was an identity beyond the religion, and that you wanted your kid to have an...
You know, he would have been better off saying, you know, you guys, I'm really glad that I called you because I hadn't thought about a lot of the points that you've raised. Do you mind if I go away and have a good think about it, and maybe I'll review my decision and get back to you a bit later on? And I'm sure that would have been a really dignified way out of the call. And Matt would have said, yeah, that's fine. You know, glad that we can help and hope that you make, you know, a good decision in the best interest of your child. Instead, he tried to redeem his ego, and he tried to soften what he was going to do and completely change the narrative. And he's been called out.
Interaction with the Muslim community in a cultural sense that went beyond the religion. And now that we've backed you into a corner on this, now you're telling a different story, which makes it seem like you're just a liar or a prank caller.
Sir, I'm not a prank caller.
And you're a liar, right?
If you say so, yes, I am.
Okay.
Have a good evening, sir.
Okay, well, at least he admitted that he's a liar. Now, I hope he comes back and he says, look, I'm really sorry about that. I was so far off the rails. Bringing my child up to me is really important that I get these decisions right. I'm so glad that I talked to you. I'd like to come back and explain to you that, you know, well, whatever, and take it from there, which will be really good, but he probably won't do that. And I really hope that he does not start taking his child along to a mosque and integrating him with the Islamic community in any way whatsoever. Okay, that's all for now. This video has gone on too long. Thank you for being patient. If you're still with me, I'll be back again with another one very soon. Bye for now.